Welcome back to another episode here on Hacks and Hobbies. Today, I get to speak with my good friend, Matt Shoup. Matt, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here with you today.
Absolutely, man. I love talking with folks that have similar passion as mine. I mean, you're a husband and a father, and me too.
Mhm.
I'm an author, speaker, and I love that you are into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu or some kind of martial arts. That's something that I grew up fascinating about too. I was actually a kickboxer like long time ago. Never really got to go much further because I moved to the U.S. and I couldn't find any kickboxing things, or Jeet Kune Do we call it. But
Okay,
anyways, I'm super excited for you to be here, man. Let's get right into it.
let's do it.
So,
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. An honor. Yeah, just love sharing whatever stories I can to help people that are listening with life, leadership, business.
amen, amen.
Yeah.
So, starting off, let's take a walk down memory lane and rediscover your origin story because I know the journey is long and we've all had to use different techniques, different skill set through that journey to really come up and really realize, hey, this is what I'm really good at. This is what I'm
Yeah.
really passionate about. So let's go down that way. And like, what was something that really stood out for you that enabled you to get to where you are today?
Going back to childhood, I think it's always
You
important that
can
you
go.
reflect on your childhood, right? And the stories you glean from
Yeah.
it. So I
Yeah.
was really good as a kid at interrupting the teacher,
Mm,
talking out of turn, sharing stories, being really smart in the schoolwork, getting it done, and then causing trouble. So like I was labeled a troublemaker,
hmm.
and I was just creative, and my brain was going a million miles a minute.
Yeah.
I was told to sit down, shut up a lot, and got kicked out of school a lot. So we moved from the East Coast, from New Jersey, out to northern Colorado. I'm 10 years old, and I vividly remember that summer. This is when compact discs were
Oh,
the new
yes.
rage, and everybody had
Yes.
the boombox, these $200 boombox players from Radio Shack. And
Hmm.
I go up to my parents, I go, hey, Bobby's mom and dad bought him a boombox, buy me a boombox. They're like, nope. If you want CDs and music and boombox and whatever you want to do, find a way to make your own money. I'm cutting their grass at the time, getting like $4 a week allowance.
Yeah.
So I said, I can do that. Like I can finish up my homework and then just go work and make money. They said, go do whatever you want. So I just started knocking on doors, right? Like
Mm,
gift to gab, finding ways to make money, and landed little lawn mowing accounts as a 10-year-old. And the goal that summer was to make a few $100s. I did that like in 10 days and then found out like I'm really good at knocking doors, talking to people,
mm.
asking for things. And, I set a goal and accomplished it. And there was some recognition there, and I felt good. So at that point, I'm like, hey, business is my thing. So that
Yeah.
turned into snow shoveling. Then that turned into peddling candy out of the middle school locker. And I got suspended. I got like a 2 or 3 day in school suspension back in, this is now middle school.
Sure.
And nobody ever took me under their wing to say, hey, this kid is an entrepreneur. And I didn't really get reignited with that passion again until my college days at
Mm,
Colorado State. But that was the origin story. I mean, all of the businesses, everything I'm doing today started with, hey, you want something?
go
Here
get
it
it.
is over here. You got to fill in that space with what you're good at, what the world
Yeah,
needs, and do it a little bit differently, and give it a shot.
absolutely. No, that's really empowering because my son's been asking me, "Hey, I want to get this electric bike." I was like, "Okay." So I told him go ride a bike every single day, the ones that we have, do 2 miles a day or whatever. And he did. And I was like, "Well, you did it for 30 days and then you stopped. So what is this to say if I were to get you an electric bike? You're going to continue to do that." So I think the idea of telling him, hey, go mow the lawn, because he's 13 now, he can easily, we
Yeah.
have a ride up lawnmower, easily go. I'm like, hey, you guys need lawn mowing done. That
Yeah.
could totally be something that he would be happy to do. So then he can fund his
Yeah.
electric bike.
It's interesting because I have a 15-year-old son. He'll be
Mhm.
16 next month. My daughter
Yeah.
just turned 13, and they both wanted cell phones. And I said, hey,
Hmm.
we're not, that their cell phone is what my boombox was back in the day. And I said,
Right.
that's $1,000. If you want it, go make $1,000. And my son decided to work. He came to our office and we gave him, hourly legitimate work to do. He got
Hmm.
paid, paycheck. My
Nice.
daughter loves baking and kind of schmoozing people. So she started a little cookie business and she's selling cookies here at our jiu-jitsu gym and to neighbors and friends. And then they each made their goal and their money. They did it different ways though. And it was
Nice.
really cool to see as a dad.
No, that is so cool. I love that. So so growing up, I don't know if I want to go down my story, but continuing on your path, how you gain leadership is because you were empowered by your parents. You're like, okay, you want to get something,
Yeah.
here's how you do it. And I think there was a cool story where a kid was like, oh, dad, I want this really nice truck. And they're like, on his birthday, dad takes him to the garage, like, all right, come on. He opens the garage door. There's a lawnmower. there's a gas can, and there's a weed eater. It's like, here you go. With this, you can buy literally anything, and that's what you showed us in your story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I wish they would teach that more and encourage that more in schools. And I'm really
Agreed.
conscious of it whenever I see a little kid. We had a kid here,
Hmm.
middle school, he's 13, and he's getting in trouble at school. And he came to train jujitsu to learn some discipline and things like
Yeah.
that. And I said, hey, what are you doing at school? He goes, well, I found this bike. At, I don't know. He bought a bike for 20 bucks, broke it
Sure.
down, sold it for parts, and he goes, yeah, I hustled up and I made $80. And like, has anybody ever talked to you about how cool that is? He's like,
Yeah.
no. He goes, I usually get in trouble for stuff like that. And he's telling me about all these little hustles. I mean, and the stuff he's doing. I'm like, that
Yeah.
kid is an entrepreneur, and
Yeah.
somebody's got to lean in and guide and direct somebody like that. For me, the school. My opinion of the school is they teach towards a certain demographic of becoming an employee, and I just
Yes.
wish I would have had some people take me under their wings sooner.
Man, that's really powerful. And through the storytelling and being brave through, hey, just sharing, hey, this is what I want to do, and this is what I saw do. And we're living in an era where literally anything is possible, right? People are
Yeah,
selling t-shirts, they're out there making music, social media's kicking back money to the creator economy. I mean, it's kind of
yeah,
amazing the world that these kids are growing up in. They just have to see the value. And I've been honored and grateful enough to, or honored and great. I'm I've had this opportunity come to me to say, hey, can you teach entrepreneurship to our high school?
yeah,
So now I'm teaching entrepreneurship and walking them through all of the different steps that they should be thinking about to these
yeah.
high school students. And they just finished, like literally every student finished all of their business plans on what they want to do based on the ideas that they themselves came up with. So it's
So
really
cool.
fun
Yeah.
seeing all of that. And wow. Damn.
And entrepreneurship too. I mean, there's the theory and the practice, right? So I had the opportunity in college. I was recruited by a college painting company. They're a
Hmm.
national organization, and they're like,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to teach you about business, and you're going to get training and classroom setting about marketing, sales, all of these things, and then you're going to go do it. So I think, especially with entrepreneurs, like you learn math, you learn trigonometry, right, or calculus or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Cool, regurgitate it for the test, and like now what? Where is this actually applicable versus, hey, here's a
Yeah.
business idea. 3 weeks later, you are marketing that to a client and there's money
Hmm.
coming in to your bank,
Hmm.
maybe from somebody 2,000 miles away because of
Yeah.
the power of the internet.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah.
Man, I love that. So, talk to me about how you got through creating this book or launching the book, The Painted Baby, connecting with clients through
Yeah.
brave and vulnerable storytelling.
Yeah, it I share that in business. We live in, this is business life. This is like everything that we
Hmm.
participate in as people. We paint pictures of perfection, right? So we always step forward with our A+ 5 star. I call it the shiny marketing brochure. Here's why
Yeah.
we're the best of the best, and it's just not true. Like, we're humans,
Hmm.
we're imperfect, and painting a picture of perfection actually prevents true connection when it
So
comes
true.
to deeply and richly connecting with another person in business or in family or in a relationship. And I see business and everything is just relationships between people where you serve each other. In business, it's measured with money. There's a product,
Hmm.
there's a service. But Painted Baby actually stems from an event where I'm about 5, 6 years deep into my painting business. I got fired from a bank in 2005, took my last $100. We turned that into $1 million company in 3 years. It was
Nice.
multi-million in five. And I'm sitting here about to close the biggest sales deal of my life. It's like 20 times the size of a normal paint job. It's
Hmm.
65,000. And I'm just giving the guy the A plus, amazing presentation, all of the different closes and objection handles, and he's not signing the contract. And I've
Right.
done business with him before. He's putting up this wall. And he says to me at one point, he picks up this brochure and he tosses it across his office. And he's like, "This thing's crap, man." He goes, "You're not going to give me a bad review. This is perfect. It's too perfect. Tell me about a time you screwed up and
Mm.
what you did about it." So I start going into the memory bank and I'm confused because nobody ever asks you this in business, right? Like,
Right.
tell me about a time that home studio just like totally botched a podcast studio. You go out to this doctor you're about to visit and,
Yeah.
something with the electrical, you burned his studio down, right? Like, that's a
Right.
bad day for you.
That's a bad day.
No, you're showing why you're amazing. And I said, all right, well, cool. We painted the wrong color on a house once, like not a big deal. So he didn't care about that. I said, well, we painted the right color on the wrong house once. We actually showed up and painted a house we weren't supposed to. And he leans in. He's like, "You did what?" And he was hooked. Like he was grabbed by that
Mm.
drama of this moment where just as a human, I'm faced with some adversity and he wants to know about it. It's like train wreck over here. I want to see what's going
Yeah, you
on.
want to go see it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I share the story about how this happened. And I had mixed up, there was a drive and a court, and there was the same address of two different homes. And I sent the guys to this home. We're supposed to be on this home.
Was it the
But point
exterior
is,
painting or interior painting?
yeah,
Because
we no, we roll up, and nobody's home. It's like a weekday. It's 9
oh,
a.m. and
okay.
the painters call me. They go, "Matt, we're all done prepping this house. We scraped it, primed it, masked all the windows, trimmed the bushes and the trees. We sprayed primer all over, like everything's ready to paint. Where's the paint?"
Yeah.
I said, "The paint's on the porch. I always deliver it to the front of the house." And
Yeah.
they're like, "There's no paint." So I'm back and forthing calling the supplier. And I said, "You know what? I'll just drive over to the house. I'm not too far away." And I
Yeah.
drive up to the house and I go, "Guys,
The
what,
paint is
like,
here.
are you
You didn't
drunk?
need
Like, there's no prep, there's no anything. There's the paint's right here." I go, "Where are you?" And they said, "We're at 2724 Blue Sky." I said, "Yeah, me too." They're like, "Blue Sky Court." I'm like, "You're on the court? You're supposed to be on the drive." And they go, "Well, you didn't tell us, so we just picked the first one we got to." But like in this engagement, my client he's intrigued
Yeah.
and he's hooked and he's like, "Well, what did you do?" And he wants to dive a little bit deeper. He still didn't sign the contract. He goes, "I feel like you've got a better story." And I said, well, fine. I told him about a time that on a job site, and this literally was the worst moment of our career
Mm.
in painting to that date, is we had a paint sprayer explode. Our painter's getting ready to spray a door with a little spray gun. And the paint sprayer jams and it explodes black semi-gloss paint all over him, the house, the landscape, everything you don't want to paint, including behind our painter is mama homeowner holding her 9-month-old baby.
Oh my God.
So we painted a baby. So I'm sitting in this sales engagement, and again, like he does this. He's
That's
like, "You
yeah.
did what?" And he's drinking coffee. "Tell me more." Fills the coffee. Well, what happened? So I'm reliving this experience of, you know, this it could be a 1 star, a very
Yeah.
negative thing.
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, what did you do about it?" And I told him what we did about it, how we addressed it, recognized the severity of the issue, made sure people were okay. You drop the ball, so you pick the ball up, hit a home run. And he goes, "Man," he said, "Matt, give me that contract. I'm going to sign it." He sticks his hand out. "You're the kind of guy I want to do business with." He shakes my hand and he says, "In all of our other engagements, because
Mm.
we painted for him before," he said, "you said you would do this and this happened. There was no room, there was no gap for something to go wrong and you have to step up to show what you're made of." And he said, "You just showed me by being imperfect where your integrity stands when you had every opportunity to run, hide, deny,
Yeah.
whatever."
Yeah.
So I leave that and I'm like, man, I just closed the biggest deal of my life by sharing kind of a train wreck
Mm-hmm.
story. So when I start this book, actually in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
it was initially a sales book. It was like, "Hey, share your business train wreck, get more business." But what I didn't realize through the 7 year journey of writing the book is that it's more about human connection and
Yeah.
storytelling and how and where we connect as people. Like, I let my guard down. He sees that I'm human. He lets his guard down. We connect deeper level, and then we do business
Yeah.
because there's that trust there. And then we actually took this photo. my daughter. We put her all over benches and bus stops and marketing and internet. And it was one of our biggest marketing campaigns. And
It's
we've
amazing.
just become associated with, everybody's got a painted baby story in their life and their marriage and their
That's
relationships and in
true.
their business. Yeah.
Man, I love that. Love that story. Need to get that book to read the rest of the story. Man, that's powerful. That's how you make the connections. Hmm. I don't even know if you need to do anything else. But
It's just, you live and when this was happening, this was 2011 that I closed this deal. And then I came back to my team. I go, guys, we landed this massive job. They're like, what clothes did you use? Did you use the either or the Benjamin Franklin clothes? Because we were all like hardcore sales guys. I go, no,
sure.
I told them about Painted Baby over in Windsor. Do you remember that? They're like, you did what? And they didn't believe it. So we worked this process where we actually, share it in there. And
Mm,
this was prior to just the crazy social media. Like grab your phone, right? Just scroll
mhm.
through whatever social media platform you want to pick.
Yeah.
Perfect life, perfect wife, perfect vacation, perfect breakfast. If you
Everything
do
is.
these quick three things, you'll have all the
Mm,
health, wealth. It's like, no, everything takes hard work. And what you're showing isn't the truth.
yeah.
Yeah, really interesting. There's a business gentleman that I follow, and he's just always awesome and always 5 star and grew this massive company. And I'm scrolling through one of his social feeds the other day, and he just started talking about like, hey, I had a drinking problem. It got me in trouble at an event. I got kicked out of the event, and I'm like, holy cow, this guy who's up here in this space
Yeah.
that he's in, he's just taking it down to like, here's where I really screwed up. And I'm like, man, I got a lot more respect and admiration for that
Mm.
guy in that imperfection.
Now I'm trying to think about all the things that I've done wrong, right? Because we've all done wrong and you kind of forget about it or you can't remember it or like, oh crap, I screwed that up. And but it's what humanizes it. It's what
Yeah.
people want to hear. Like, hey, how and that's one of the reasons why when you're interviewing for a job, they're like, hey, when was the time where you totally screwed up?
Mm-hmm.
Because they want to see what kind of person you are.
Yeah.
So as you landed the biggest deal of your company and you just, went down and delivered an amazing service, product and whatnot. Like, what's the next step? Like you took the company from $5 to what is that multi-million dollar, right? In 5 years?
Yeah. So the Painted Baby incident happened in 2008. So we are 4 years in the business.
4 years in. Okay.
2011 is where I closed this big deal. So I'm referring back to 3 years earlier, 2008, to my client Bill. So at
Yeah.
the time that I was hitting that wall, I'm like, we're getting business and things are good. And that's the issue, right? If you're doing great with sales, like, why would you change that? Why would you
Right.
add that? If it's not broken, don't fix it. But it's just when I discovered this, our close rate rose significantly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, back to origin story of M&E painting. When I graduated college, I worked 4 years with college painters, made a bunch of money, spent way more than I made. And I
Mm.
wasn't going to stay in the painting business. I jumped into the mortgage banking industry and it felt like school again. It felt like in school suspension every day, like being
That's true.
being told what to do. I was not enjoying life, and I
Yeah.
was plotting my escape. The new bank president calls me in one day. They had like a changing of the guard and the leadership, and they were just clearing out their P&L. They're like, Who's this young Matt kid?" And they told me, "Go get all your stuff, put it in a box. You're fired." Kicked me out of the bank, and
Mm.
I'm standing there in Windsor, Colorado, in a parking lot, 6 figures in debt. Just got married. We just bought a house, car loan, school loan, the whole list of stuff. And I'm like, man, I've got to go figure out a way to support my wife at the time.
Yeah.
And I have a 10-minute drive home and I have to have an answer. So I jump in the car. I kind of flew the finger to the bank. I was pissed young guy. And I called a couple painters that I had worked with during the college painting days. And I said, hey, what are you guys doing this summer? And they said, what happened? You get kicked out of the bank, you get fired? We knew that would happen. I go, yeah. They said, we knew that wouldn't last long. I said, give me like 30 or 45 days, guys. I'm going to line up the summer. So came home, It was lunchtime, and let Emily know what happened, and that
Mm.
I got a permanent lunch break forever that day.
Like
And
what?
she's like, "Hey, I believe in you. You know, go get it." So we launched the business, and then worked just tirelessly those first 3 years. I mean, I
Hmm.
knocked doors, and then I hung out in the paint aisle at Home Depot.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I found that by accident. It's a fun story that
Sure.
we can dive into just in terms of where great marketing ideas can just pop up sometimes if you're open to them. But
Hmm.
yeah, I had a very clear strategy on how to get business and just was churning and burning, to get it going.
I love that. So it's really interesting to see your origin story and to see where you landed and how you're able to connect the stories. And obviously, I mean, you've written a book, you've done some amazing things. I see another book back there. Is that another book that you wrote?
Yeah. So my first book, it's Become an Award-Winning Company. I wrote that in 2011,
Okay.
and it's a simple system and process to win small business awards. And it's for any size scope of business, and then how
Hmm.
you take that and leverage it to get free marketing exposure, build your credibility, connect with people within your core market to grow the
Yeah.
business. That was the first time I had ever written anything.
Sure.
So Painted Baby's way better than my first book, and I've learned so much about being an
Of
author,
course.
through
Yeah.
through the journey. And then
Yeah.
I'm currently working on an illustrated children's book, having to do with anti-bullying and how
Okay.
jujitsu plays a role in helping kids find their inner strength and voice.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'm totally blown away. I mean, that was an amazing origin story. The support and the inspiration that you had from your parents, from working in that painting and with your colleagues in college, that was the huge support network that enabled you to launch the company, right? You couldn't
Yeah.
have done it alone.
No, you can, but it's going to
Okay.
be really lonely.
Mm,
It's not healthy, and I think um, this is just my story. And I have a podcast. I spend a lot of time. I interview a lot of entrepreneurs, and
mm,
I've always had this. Like I got bullied growing up, right? That's a big part of my story. So I'm like, I'm going to prove it to you, and
sure.
put my back up against the wall. I'll show you. Well, you can bully me, you can beat me up, but I know how to make money. So when I was
Hmm.
growing the business, I was doing it a lot out of anger, right? Like
Oh
I had
wow.
something to prove, I had something to show the world, and in doing that, I would isolate myself to
Mm,
to a certain degree. And I had some mentors, but it took me a little bit to realize, like, hey, this guy's like, he's trying to help me. He's not giving me feedback about. I
sure.
would get feedback from a guy. He's a carpet cleaner, and I'd run into him at a Starbucks coffee shop. He
Mm,
moved from Lebanon to the United States um, in the 80s and started a carpet cleaning business. His business was M&J.
mm,
I'm M&E. So he's like, Matt, I got 3 phone calls about painting. And I go, I got 3 phone calls about carpet cleaning, because they would mix us up. And he
yeah.
goes, hey, you should try this with your marketing. The point is he's trying to give me advice, elevate me, uplift me. And I'm like, why is this guy harassing? I go,
Right.
I got it. I got it figured out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was pretty arrogant, thought I knew everything. And when I realized that, in the business community, like even painters, we're not
Hmm.
competition. We are, but there's
No.
enough to go around. Like, let's help each other. Let's
Oh
serve each
yeah.
other. And that really shifted my perspective in business. And would tell a business owner a couple things. Find that person that's been there, done that. So you can go gain from their knowledge, learn from their mistakes. It's going to make your learning curve a lot smaller.
Yeah.
There's value in learning the hard way, though, too. Like there's just value in
Of
losing your own
course.
money a couple times.
Of course.
And then eliminate negative people, voices, information, news. You've got to create this bubble, and your world as an entrepreneur, to some degree, will get smaller
Hmm.
sometimes. But as long as it's small with some of the right people there, you just need a couple, right? Um, and then
Yeah,
just a big
absolutely.
believer in being aligned. Like my spouse, my wife Emily, supported
Hmm.
me from day one. Like we'd have our moments, we have our fights, but
Yeah.
like I got your back. I believe in you, and I think that is one of the core key traits of a successful entrepreneur is who you're married to. Because I know guys and gals where the
Hmm.
spouse was not on board, not supportive, cutting each other out at the knees every day. and they now have no business, no marriage, no money.
Right.
Like it's not good.
Yeah. No, you're so right. And it does get lonely sometimes because you can't find the right people. And then if you do find some people, they're always bitching about their business. Well, they shouldn't be in business to begin,
Yeah,
or are they like what was their thought like if the I mean I'm sure you've met people like that too.
I was that. So,
Mm,
another big shift is I had a real hard time. I wondered for so long why nobody wanted to work as hard as me and stay working with me, and why everybody was leaving and what's their problem. And I didn't realize what a jerk I was. I was a poor leader. I was kind of a prick, kind of a jerk, if I can say
mm,
that, to work for. And a coach called me out on that. He's like, Matt, you're always complaining about the same thing that's happening. It doesn't matter who it is or where
right.
they came from. You're the common denominator. I'll call that
Denominator.
denominator the problem. And he's like, you're the problem. So knock that off, like it's you. And he just hit me in the face with it, right? And yeah, so I,
Mm,
I'm I have a nice filter for that. And yeah, sometimes you just got to complain. Like sometimes, yeah, somebody did you wrong, and,
right.
and and that's true. But if everybody's doing you wrong all the time, you might start looking at yourself,
Like,
or you
I
just
wonder what I'm doing.
or you have the world's worst luck, and it's normally not that.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt, this has been so much fun talking to you about your book, your philosophy, your origin story. I mean, it's all very relatable, very easy to listen to. I mean, we could be sitting here for hours listening to your stories, but I would recommend check out the Painted Baby book. Connect with clients through brave and vulnerable storytelling. And we're gonna take a quick break, and we get back. Matt's gonna share 3 hacks that you can implement in your business so that you can land that big client as well. Guys, welcome back. We have been talking here on the podcast with Matt Shoup here, and such an amazing conversation. Like I don't even see the time go because it's just literally flying. And Matt's got the amazing uh, craft of being a really good storyteller, and that comes from a lot of work, a lot of conversations on sales calls, on podcasting, like you name it. Like having written 2 books and working on this third one, like that takes a lot of energy and a lot of focused skill work, right? So I'm really honored to have him here. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thanks for having me here and back after the break.
Sweet. All right. So we're gonna jump into the 3 hacks to share, right? So you have 3 hacks for us. I mean, you've been a business owner for so many years.
Yeah.
There's I'm sure there's a ton that you have floating around, but I'm sure there's
Mhm.
3 that our audience can implement in their lives so they can be better business people.
Yes. First hack is there's no such thing as get rich quick. So please stop believing what you're seeing on the
Mm-hmm.
internet, all this stuff that pops up. Remember, something's being marketed to you.
Yes.
It's being marketed to you at the core existence of some of your greatest insecurity and lack. So there's no get rich quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like my bio, we were $1 million company in 3 years. Those 3 years, I was working. I was like just working, I was getting doors slammed in my face. Nothing comes easy, right? Nothing comes without rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And just remember that. And I didn't have all that in front of me as much back in 2005. So, we're coming up on 20 years. I don't know how that would have affected me. So just keep that
Yeah.
in mind. Anything great takes a decade. So think in decades,
Amen.
not in days, weeks, and things. And then the other thing is that the world we live in is there's all these ideas and resources and programs that you can buy to generate business, increase business. Just keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? Who do you help? Where are those people? Go start a conversation with them. Be unique. Be you. Example: I was in Home Depot, almost 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find paint for a job, and this little old lady comes by and she goes, "Hey, can you reach that semi-gloss paint? That jar of semi-gloss paint right there." I said, "Oh, sure." I go, "What are you painting?" And I have my company shirt on. And she's like, "Oh, I'm going to paint some ceilings." I go, "Well, you probably don't want to paint, semi-gloss paint on the ceilings. And she's like, do you work here? She goes, do you work here? I said, no, I have a painting company. She goes, well, I don't want to paint it. How about you paint it? So I'm like, wait a minute,
Uh-huh.
just connected those dots.
Yeah.
Like, so I hung out in the aisle a little bit longer, got some more leads. Then I would go buy a hot dog and a soda at the hot dog cart outside Home Depot. And I'd just come in and grab leads. So just
Mhm.
keep it simple. Like find one or two things that generate business, track it, measure it, and then schedule time to do it. Like don't worry about the website. Don't worry about all of this stuff that can come
Mhm.
later. Go find the model that gets you your first, 5K, 10K, 50K, 100K, scale that from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And then I already kind of said it, but surround yourself with positive people, positive information, books,
Amen.
podcasts. There's so much, and fire negativity from your life. Whether it's directly telling somebody, "Hey, I don't want to talk to you anymore," if you're direct, or just, "Hey, I'm going to make myself less available when that person calls or messages me to
Right.
complain about how awful life is or how I shouldn't be running a business."
Yeah.
Right. So those would be just three hacks right there. And I'm going to throw a fourth, get a mentor.
Get a mentor. Yeah.
Reach out to somebody. I love when people reach out to me. No, you're so busy. I'm like, come have a coffee. Like, come have a coffee and sit down.
Mhm.
It's a duty for me to repay that back
Yeah.
to an up and coming business guy when Marwan from Lebanon, M&J
Mhm.
Carpet Cleaning, would sit me down and buy me coffee 20 years ago and just pour into me. He had no, there was no benefit to
It's no
him
benefit.
for
Yes.
that. Yeah,
But he understood what it takes to run a business. Because I'm sure he had a
yeah,
business back in Lebanon, right? And now he's running the business here. It's like, hey,
yeah.
if I can help one other person be
Mhm.
better at business, and that's what we're doing, right? With these
Yeah,
episodes, we're
yeah,
trying to highlight these stories to show what's possible and where you can find help, where you can find these positive mindset. I mean, positivity is not just for the fake of, it's not, it's not for the sake of positivity. It's because this is what's required for your mind to keep working. I mean, we work in the daylight because we're we're getting the sunshine, and that's positivity. Anybody can be
yeah.
negative.
And I'm not a doctor. I don't have letters after my name, but from the books I've read and the research I've done is that
Mhm.
positivity, it changes your brain wiring and your focus, and your brain being more positive becomes
Yeah,
more effective, and you start to see opportunities. It's that abundance versus scarcity. If you're just waiting for the rain to pour, it's going to pour at some point,
yeah.
you know. So yeah,
Now,
align with that and get rid of anything else as much as you can.
I love that. Love that so much. Thank you so much, Matt, for this amazing conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
I have to.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, let's jump into our rapid fire questions that I love to ask my guests. Number one, exploring uncharted territories. Name a hobby you've always wanted to dive into but haven't yet, and why?
Swimming, because I have a massive fear of the water. I almost drowned
Hmm.
a couple times as a kid, so
Yeah.
that's not so much a hobby, but more of just diving into uncomfort with something that just a skill I should have and be a
Hmm.
lot better at.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I didn't drown really, but I've always I can swim, but I don't know how to breathe into the water. Like I can
Yes.
I can go from one edge to the other edge, but as soon as I'm out of my breath, I'm like, where's the ground? Where's the ground?
Yeah, similar. Yeah, I can technically physically swim, but then
Yeah,
when I know the water's over my head and I
yeah.
get tired, I feel panic, and then
Hmm.
I can't relax in the
Yeah.
water. Yeah,
So we'll both work on that together.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Rewinding time, what childhood dream job did you aspire to, and how does it contrast with your current career?
I dreamed of being a professional baseball player. I remember growing up,
Mhm.
hitting baseballs, and I
Yeah,
was a big fan of like the Oakland A's, and played baseball one year,
yeah.
and I wasn't great at sports, so I think I decided at that point, and this is as I'm finding out I'm great at business.
Hmm.
So it's just looking back, I didn't give it enough time. I was
Yeah,
10 years old, but yeah, it's totally different from what I'm doing right now. But I love what I'm doing right now.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
From screen to life, can you share a movie or TV show that entertains you and offers a lesson that resonates with your life or career journey?
I love not a specific one, but any kind of documentary. I love documentaries of just
Mm,
seeing somebody's progression and story to where they are. I think it's really cool or maybe impactful. You see somebody where they're at
yeah.
and just hearing the story of what they went through to get there. I just think it's a really cool thing. And my
Yeah.
kids are like, oh, there's dad watching a documentary. It bores the heck out of the rest of
Of
the family. So
course.
like that's my unplug, go just sit down and watch a documentary.
Did you get a chance to watch Limitless with Chris Hemsworth?
No, no. Mm-mm.
So it's kind of documentary on his life, and he basically takes on these different challenges because this is Thor, right? The
Okay.
Almighty.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
pretty cool on how he like overcomes these phobias or fears that he have through
Nice.
this the story or through each episode. Is pretty cool. It's almost like the thing Will Smith did when he was turning 50. He's like, I have these bucket list items that I want to do before I turn 50. And that was pretty interesting to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah.
All right, next up. Imagining yourself on the silver screen. If you could embody a character from any movie, who would it be and how does this character's journey mirror or contrast with your own?
Man, did you send this to me prior or is this the surprise question?
This is the surprise one.
Okay, because you totally surprised me. Oh man. Which character? How would that my life's journey? Hmm. Give me a second.
Sure, of
Can you give
course.
me a next question? And I'm gonna swing back to it because you stumped me, man. That was a big surprise.
Yeah, this is a question that literally everybody stumps on, and
Hmm.
they're like, huh? Or some people are like, oh, I want to be this person, I want to be that person, and they have that answer.
I got it. I got
You
it
got
because I
it.
just
Okay.
watched this with the kids. Is
Yeah.
we were just joking with the family. I took my kiddos back. We watched The Karate Kid,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just my story, a lot of similarities of getting bullied, moving to a new
Yeah.
place,
Yeah.
finding your way. I didn't find martial arts and jujitsu till I was 27,
Mm-hmm.
and I wish I could pull that back to when I was 10. The
Mm.
skills that would have taught me
Oh my
to
God.
just find my voice and my strength and my confidence. And I leaned into a lot of good things, man. Like I
Mm-hmm.
got into drugs and alcohol and all kinds of stuff. We didn't talk about this, but like that that story of Danielson, right? He's got his mentor,
Yeah.
overcoming that and finding his strength, and then knowing, hey, I've got the tools and skills to use this, and I don't have to. Just having it is enough. So I would say
Mm.
Karate Kid.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's so, and it kind of goes to your fourth hack, right? Because you're finding a mentor that's
Hmm.
helping you be a better version of yourself.
Yeah. And it's funny because in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, like you're literally rolling around on the ground,
Hmm.
looks like in pajamas with other men sweating on each other. It's kind of weird, right? When you look at it and you're trying to like choke another person out or crank their arm.
Yeah.
And all you need to do to get it to stop is just tap. And it's not quitting forever. It's just saying, hey,
Hmm.
you got me here. Let's learn. Let's figure this out. And then you go
Hmm.
back and do it again. And obviously I've had training partners for a long time, but every training partner, like it's another mentor. They're pouring
Yes.
into you, you're pouring into them. It's within just this adversity and this pressure.
Yeah.
It teaches you a lot about life and leadership. So yeah, just been honored over the past 16 years now. I've been training,
That's
um,
amazing.
and and now to teach kids, to give kids now something that I didn't have when I was a kid. Just
Mm,
love that.
yeah. That's amazing. Next up, navigating through the world of superheroes. Who's your favorite, and is there a particular trait they possess that you wish to embody or believe you already do in your professional life?
Yeah, I always loved the Superman movie and was totally attracted to that and resonate with that. I
Yeah.
think just being able to fly would be super cool. Like I would just love to be able to fly, but just all of the superpowers that he had,
Yes.
stop the train. He's got his weakness, right? Like
Hmm.
any superhero. But it's that whole idea of like I've got these strengths and these things, but I don't necessarily need to use them. I have the
Hmm.
capacity to use them, but it just gives me that confidence and that stand.
Yeah.
I think in business and anything you do, like being a father, like you have to be able to take that stand. And just because you have something doesn't mean you need to implement it or use it, but you got to
That's
know
right.
you have it and that
You
you're
gotta know you
capable.
have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that confidence you kind of build that up in yourselves over time, being a business person too, right?
Yeah.
You might not have it in
Yes.
the beginning, but over time you build the self-confidence from, our cheerleaders, from people that are around us, the the
Yeah.
the masterminds and whatnot. They're like, oh my God, you
Mhm.
got this. You're killing it, you're crushing it.
Yeah.
And you get that boost of confidence, like, oh my God, okay, all right, this is cool. And then you
Yeah.
look back 3 4 years and like, oh my God, I can't believe where I was 4 years ago and where I am today.
Mhm. And I'd add two things too, because you talk about like the cheerleaders and the people around you, they're uplifting you. Hey,
Hmm.
you're great, you're great. Two of the biggest things that just suck, right, is like knocking on doors, cold calling, getting told no,
Yeah.
plus whatever else they want to tell you because you bothered them, right, for whatever reason, and just being able to keep coming back after that, like that kind of rejection. And then
Mm.
I would also say Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Matt's like literally my first class. I'm 220 pounds of just meathead. I walk into this gym, I pick a fight with a teenager named
Mhm.
Timmy, and he just mops the floor with me, throws
Oh
me
my
around,
God.
just getting like physically, and it was mentally, emotionally, everything humbled and
Yeah.
shown like, dude, you got no idea what you just stepped into.
Mm.
And it's easy to walk away from that, right? That's where it's easy to give up. No, go back to that,
Go
and then
back
do
to
that. Go do that 10,000 more times for a decade.
Damn.
That'll just build something. I would recommend any entrepreneur to do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Love it. All
Yeah,
right, last up.
it's my soapbox right there.
No, I love it, man. This is so soothing. Okay, this is my last call of the day, and I'm like, I need some positive uplifting. And Matt shows up to the gate. I'm like, oh my God, this is the best episode ever.
Do it, love it. Thank you, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. If your career or person journey was a board game, which one would it be and why?
I love Monopoly.
Hmm.
That's just the first thing that comes to mind. I
Sure.
am super aggressive when it comes to Monopoly. Like I made my wife cry once when we were first married. We don't play Monopoly together
Sure.
anymore. But just that idea of just the journey, and you're going to win some and you're going to
Mm,
lose some.
yeah.
And uh, sometimes I sit here with business and I'm like, this is just electronic Monopoly. Like we don't even
Mm.
tangibly touch
We don't touch none
the,
of
the,
that.
the money anymore. So just business is serious. You have to provide for your family and your legacy and all of
Yeah,
this stuff, but also remember, like to a certain degree, it's a game. It's
it
just this
is.
game, and you can have resets, and it's have that dichotomy of business. Keep it in mind. It's serious, but it's also like just it's a fun game too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Man, thanks so much for your time, your energy, your wisdom, your positive uplifting these stories. This was absolutely a great time with you. And where can my audience reach you?
yeah. MattShoup.com. Everything's on the website, and then anybody that is in the Denver area or northern Colorado, Loveland area, we have a free Spanish coffee bar. So free
Nice.
to come by anytime. Come say hi.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much again. And we'll see you in the next episode.